What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in to another episode of Time2Football. I am your host, Hassan Khan. Welcome in to another episode of Which Colored V-Neck Will Hassan Khan Wear on today's episode. The answer is blue, matching the color of the lights. But today, we've got a lot to cover as far as fantasy football. Upon popular demand, you guys wanted to see those fantasy football starts and sits videos. Well, I got something for you guys. I got something for you. It's the fantasy football starts and sits videos that we're going to be showing you guys in this video. So we're going to be talking about ads and drops off your waiver wires. It's week one, so we kind of struggled on who to drop necessarily because everybody could be a sleeper. You never know. But we came out with a list. So we're going to be talking about that, but we're also going to be talking about some starts and sits on top of that as well. For you guys that are new to this and new to this live stream, don't know what this is about. So pretty much what we do is every Monday through Friday, it's just a live show. And 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, you guys can be following along with us in the chat as well. We actually got one guy. I'm going to go ahead and read out his comment. Sino Rogers, sit Allen versus Steelers and start Darnold versus revenge game versus Jets. Hey, keep in mind, Sam Darnold. I have a little bit of a nugget to show you later on in this video. But Allen versus Steelers, listen, TJ Watt. TJ Watt is not going to be playing. He's in doubt, at least, to suit up for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah, you can go ahead and start Josh Allen and not have to worry about it. Also, last year, on that Sunday night game, Josh Allen just destroyed the Steelers as well. Not too much to really be concerned about as far as Josh Allen on that end. So be sure to go ahead and leave your comments and your questions and anything on this chat, and I'm going to be answering them towards the end of the show as well. To kind of give you a little bit of a topic bar to show you what topics we've got on this show, I'm going to go ahead and pull up something right here. So this is, we're going to be talking about NFL news and notes first to start everything off. We had some technical difficulties, so we can't pull that up. Well, whatever. Doesn't matter. NFL news and notes on this show that we're going to be talking about to begin. And for starters, I think the biggest news in the NFL right now, probably in the last day or two, Mark Andrews has officially signed a 4-year, $56 million contract extension. Congratulations to that man, because that is really tough to do to be a good tight end in such an offense like that. But Mark Andrews definitely got it done in that aspect. What else do we've got here? We also got TJ Watt, like I mentioned, is in doubt against playing against the Bills because he's been holding out. There's a lot of tension as far as his dealers and the front office and TJ Watt as well. He's been holding his own individual workouts, so he's in shape. He's getting it done. But the thing is, he's not really in the process or in the running to play in this game. So if you have any Buffalo Bills players in fantasy football, their stock is slowly increasing in that aspect. So keep in mind and on the lookout for TJ Watt. Justice Hill tore his ACL, unfortunately. Now, I mean, this is not really that big of a blow for the Baltimore Ravens. I think that they had Tyson Williams ranked as the number 2 back behind Gus Edwards. Justice Hill just really hasn't been getting it done the last couple of years that he's been with Baltimore. So they didn't really have high hopes for him being a starting running back. So, I mean, him going down with the torn Achilles raises up the stock value of Tyson Williams. So if he's still available on your waivers, be on the lookout for Tyson Williams. I'm going to mention him in this video coming up as well. Dwayne Brown, veteran offensive lineman for the Seattle Seahawks, is going to be playing, according to Pete Carroll, the head coach for the Seattle Seahawks. So he's been holding out, a little bit of frustration right there on Dwayne Brown's end, but he's eventually going to be playing, and that offensive line needs that help to protect Russell Wilson. Trey Waynes is a cornerback on the Cincinnati Bengals. He has a hamstring injury, and he is officially out against the Minnesota Vikings. So a defense that's already lost some key pieces in the offseason, and Trey Waynes, on top of that, no-brainer for the Cincinnati Bengals defense. Anthony Miller, who was traded from the Chicago Bears to the Houston Texans, returns to practice, and it was a shoulder injury. They were hoping that he would return pretty much soon, and some people initially thought that he'd be out for the first 3 weeks or so, going to be placed on temporary IR, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Anthony Miller is coming back. Desmond Trufant signs with the New Orleans Saints, the longtime cornerback veteran in the NFL, former first-round pick, and being a Falcons fan. Congratulations, New Orleans Saints. You got yourself a very, very mediocre cornerback. But I will say, though, we wouldn't have lost 28-3 if Desmond Trufant played in that game. He makes that little bit of a difference to where maybe he would save a field goal or touchdown from being scored. And but, I mean, other than that, it's just added depth for the New Orleans Saints. But speaking of the Saints, Will Lutz has been placed on IR. He will miss at least the first 8 weeks of the season. Good kicker for the New Orleans Saints. People are saying maybe his fantasy value is going down just a bit because Drew Brees is not there. We don't know what the New Orleans Saints offense is going to look like, but they're going to roll with Aldrick Rosas as the kicker for the Saints. A couple more things. Jamison Crowder has the chance to play in Week 1. He had COVID-19. Robert Saleh, the head coach, says he is fully vaccinated, and if he spits out 2 negative tests, he is going to be playing and suiting up for the Jets, which they need it against a tough Panthers secondary. And then last, Darrell Williams and Clyde Edwards-Helaire will both suit up for the Kansas City Chiefs. That is good news for the Chiefs versus a tough Browns defense. But that is your news and notes for this week. We had a little bit of a late start because of some technical difficulties, but that's okay. No need to worry, because right now, what we're about to show you is going to be the starts and sits for fantasy football. Actually, before we get into that, we're going to get into the ads and drops. So I know you guys have missed it so much. I don't know how many people watch the waiver wire video. It's not as much as a start and sit video that we release every Tuesday. But if you watch the waiver wire video, the nostalgia of hearing Sleep Now in the Fire by Rage Against the Machine is going to be playing in this video. I'm just going to be showing it to you guys real quick. Watch it, and then I'm going to get back to you guys. Check it out. Backs, the Mustads, Ben Roethlisberger, Justin Fields, and Sam Darnold. And our out of the week, Zach Wilson. A lot of buzz is surrounding the number 2 overall pick, and rightfully so. The way he played in preseason showed that Wilson will have a pretty decent career in the NFL. With him being owned in just 15% of leagues, he's well worth the stash on your bench. The must-drops: Derek Carr, Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Cam Newton. In our drop of the week, Baker Mayfield. Could Mayfield perform as well as he did his rookie season? The talent is there, but if the run game was the biggest asset in making a playoff run, what makes you think that the Browns will stray away from that game plan? Plus, no major pass-catching additions this offseason leaves Mayfield's fantasy value in question. Running backs, the Mustads: Tony Pollard, Ramondre Stevenson, and Alexander Madison. And our out of the week, Tyson Williams. I don't know if Gus Edwards will be the 3-down back, or if Tyson Williams works in on 50% of the carries. But what's the harm in grabbing him just in case? If the latter is true, he has a good matchup against the Raiders, so if he does well, you could use that to your advantage in trade talks. The must-drops: J.K. Dobbins, Tariq Cohen, and Mark Ingram. And our drop of the week, James White. If you haven't been keeping up, here's what's been happening with James White. He tested free agency and had no serious offers before he came back to the Patriots, meaning that New England was ready to move on completely from him. They have Damian Harris as the lead back, Ramondre Stevenson as the LeGarrette Blount, and J.J. Taylor as the Rex Burkhead. White will be fed targets, but be honest with yourself. When are you ever going to start James White? Wide receivers, the Mustads: Brian Edwards, Elijah Moore, and Emmanuel Sanders. And our out of the week, Jacoby Myers. There's no reason why Myers shouldn't be owned in at least 75% of fantasy leagues. You're essentially getting a weekly flex player as a waiver wire pickup. The Mac Jones news is the best thing that could ever happen to Jacoby Myers. Pause this video and go pick up Myers. The must-drops: AJ Green, Jamison Crowder, and T.Y. Hilton. And our drop of the week, Randall Cobb. It's time to move on. Rodgers and Cobb will have some good games together at times, but it won't be the same Randall Cobb of the past. Cobb is fighting for targets with Valdez-Scantling, Lazard, and Amari Rogers. So again, ask yourself, when will I ever start this player? Unless crazy injury scenarios were to occur, the answer is never. Tight ends, the must-adds. Zach Ertz, Hunter Henry, and Austin Hooper. And our ad of the week, Gerald Everett. I'm just going to spit some facts. Jacob Hollister and Greg Olsen are gone. They leave behind 77 targets that needs to be filled. Colby Parkinson broke his foot, so less competition at tight end. No, Will Dissly and his 29 targets through 16 games won't be a threat. 25% of the Seahawks' red zone targets went to the tight ends last year. Also, Everett is freaking athletic. I mean, why not just stash him on your bench just to see what happens? The must-drops. Anthony Ferkser, Irv Smith, and Jared Cook. And our drop of the week, Eric Ebron. He's owned in a third of ESPN leagues, and that shouldn't be the case. The Steelers have listed Pat Freiermuth and Eric Ebron both as the starting tight ends, so expect an even share in targets between the both of them. Kickers, the must-adds. Matt Prater, Ryan Suckup, and Josh Lambo. And our ad of the week, Rodrigo Blankenship. How did Hot Rod go from being a top 6 fantasy kicker last year to falling outside of the top 20 in ESPN rankings? There's literally no explanation of that. We have Blankenship finishing as a top 5 kicker this season, so pick him up at a great value. The must-drops. Chris Boswell, Daniel Carlson, and Chase McLaughlin. And our drop of the week, Mason Crosby. Fantasy experts say to have a kicker on a high-scoring offense when there's actually way more that goes into it. If that were the case, then Crosby would be a top 5 kicker every single season. Instead, he finishes in the bottom half every year, and this year won't be any different. Defense and special teams, the must-adds. The Dolphins, Giants, and the Browns. And our out of the week, the Kansas City Chiefs. They're definitely a streaming option this year more than anything else, so I'm not necessarily saying to start them this week. I'm just putting it on your radar that they have been looking great in preseason. Keep in mind that the Chiefs' defense will play well this year. The must-drops, the Seahawks, Vikings, and the Packers. And our drop of the week, the Chicago Bears. There's a stigma behind the Bears' defense that people think it has to be great. Hate to burst your bubble, but it's not the greatest this year. They could very well be a good streaming option at times, but a weekly starter, don't put too much stock into it. And that was your ads and drops for this week for fantasy football. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. So what I do is I do upload those as individual videos, but the posting schedule is, I had a little bit of a late start here, but every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I come out with the ads and drops, and then later I'm going to be showing the starts and sets. And then at 12 p.m., ads and drops as its own separate video. Later on, 3 p.m. is going to be starts and sets as its own separate videos as well. So, I mean, I would love to chat with you guys and hear you guys' opinions on what do you guys think of those starts and sits? I mean, do you guys agree with those? Do you guys disagree? Which players would you have said, hey, I don't want to drop this guy right now? I mean, I'm really big on James White and Randall Cobb and stuff like that. So that's actually what I mentioned in the video. That's actually what I wanted to come across with you guys. You know, when you think about fantasy football and you think about your bench and your depth that you have, it's good to have your bench should be treated as if my starters were to get injured and this person were to come in, can I rely on this guy? And I think a lot more people think to themselves, oh no, like Randall Cobb or James White or whoever is just so good, a good player, that I'm just going to keep them on my bench because I don't want them on the waivers. But you got to ask yourself, when will I ever play this guy? Unless it's like a handcuff, like if it's David Montgomery's your starter, you have Damian Williams on your bench. If you have Antonio Gibson, you have J.D. McKissick. You know, if it's that kind of player, yes. But if it's like you have a player that's on a bye or a player gets injured, James White, he's bottom in the pecking order. You've got Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, J.J. Taylor, and then you got James White. So you're never, ever going to play that guy. So let go of him. Just let go of him. I know that's hard for some people, but you have to just let go. Let someone else pick him up. It's not going to be the end of the world if someone else gets him. I promise you. James White is not going to be that big of a difference maker in your fantasy football roster. I'm going to check in real quick. We got 40 of you guys checking in right now, so I appreciate you guys tuning in. I will answer some questions towards the end of the show as well, but I'm just going to read off one because I kind of ignored him yesterday, but I want to give you a shout out right now. Neil Fields. Everybody keep talking about J.J. Taylor and Stevenson RBs for New England. Yeah, I mean, it's Damien Harris as the main guy, but J.J. Taylor is in that Rex Burkhead role, so be on the lookout for him. What else we got? I'll answer one more. Joel McPeters, Brandon Ayuk nursing a hammy, or Robbie Anderson reunited with Sam in the ultimate revenge game. Ooh, I like Ayuk. I'm going to mention him a little bit in the starts and sits that I'm going to show right now, but Anderson and Darnold, you cannot go wrong with that in the ultimate revenge game. They are going to go off in that game. Anderson, you should start in general, but Darnold, I mean, in deeper leagues, yes, you should give him a shot. With all that said, though, I'm going to go ahead and pop up what you guys have been missing for so long and have been wanting to hear. I mean, just hearing the adds and drops and me saying tight ends. Oh, the iconic tight ends. Kickers. Defense and special teams. You guys are suckers for those. We are now going to get into Linkin Park Pushing Me Away instrumental version, and we're going to get into the fantasy football starts and sits videos. Let the nostalgia just fill in as you soak this in. Just watch. Time now for our fantasy football must-starts and must-sits for Week 1. With quarterbacks, the must-starts: Tom Brady, Kyler Murray, Matt Ryan, Jalen Hurts, and Trevor Lawrence. And our sleeper of the week, Sam Darnold. Sweet, sweet revenge. This game will tell us if Darnold was the issue or if it was Adam Gase. Spoiler alert, it wasn't Sam. With much more weapons at his disposal, expect Darnold to be a solid start in deeper leagues. The must-sits: Teddy Bridgewater, Jameis Winston, Daniel Jones, Mac Jones, and Tua Tagovailoa. And our bust of the week, Matthew Stafford. For starters, Stafford only has an 86.3 career passer rating against the Bears. And though Stafford is set to improve in 2021, let's hold off on this week. The Bears aren't necessarily as good of a defense as they were in previous years, but they were top 6 against quarterbacks last season. Running backs, the must-starts: Gus Edwards, Chase Edmonds, James Robinson, Raheem Mostert, and Damien Harris. And our sleeper of the week, David Montgomery. I don't expect the Bears offense to do much in this game, but if you want someone with a safe floor, it's Montgomery. Matt Nagy has been adamant in giving Montgomery his touches, so expect Montgomery to get at least 20 touches in this game. May not do much with it, but his volume alone is worthy of the start. The must-sits: Miles Sanders, Zach Moss, Mike Davis, DeAndre Swift, and Sony Michel. And our bust of the week, Josh Jacobs. Love the player, hate the situation. We're all aware of Kenyon Drake coming into town and having what we expect to be a sizable role. But what scares me the most is the amount of starting offensive linemen that they lost this offseason. I'd stay away from Jacobs in anything less than a 12-team league. Wide receivers, the must-starts: DJ Chark, Brandon Cooks, Robbie Anderson, Adam Thielen, and Corey Davis. And our sleeper of the week, Brandon Ayuk. The matchup is fantastic, but I only consider him a sleeper and not an actual must-start because target share is still a concern. Last year when Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle were all healthy, Ayuk failed to finish inside of the top 50 at his position. We'll just have to wait and see, but I'd consider Ayuk nothing more than a flex this week. The must-sits: Odell Beckham Jr., Marquez Callaway, Devontae Parker, Henry Ruggs, and Juju Smith-Schuster. And our bust of the week, Jamar Chase. Consider Chase to be a project. After sitting out from football for a year, Chase may have a season similar to Rob Gronkowski last season, where it may take a few weeks to get back into it. For now, he has not looked great in the preseason, so keep him on the bench for this week. Tight ends, the must-starts: Dallas Goedert, Logan Thomas, Kyle Pitts, Jonnu Smith, and Noah Fant. And our sleeper of the week, Robert Tonyan. I'll be honest with you, I wasn't big on Tonyan when I made my draft rankings because natural touchdown regression is bound to happen. But what I overlooked is what he did with the targets given to him, making him top 3 in almost every per-target stat amongst tight ends. He makes the most out of every target and catches almost anything thrown his way, so give him a shot this week. The must-sits: Anthony Ferkser, Cole Kmet, Evan Ingram, Mike Gesicki, and Gerald Everett. In our bust of the week, Eric Ebron. We touched on this when we listed Ebron as our drop of the week. The Steelers have listed Pat Freiermuth as the starting tight end alongside Eric Ebron. Both are expected to split time, and that's bad news being part of an offense where there are already so many targets to compete for. Kickers, the must-starts: Younghoe Koo, Brandon McManus, Graham Gano, Jason Myers, and Matt Gay. And our sleeper of the week, Josh Lambo. If your league deducts points for missed field goals, then Lambo is one of the best options at kicker this week. He's been the most accurate kicker in the NFL since signing with the Jacksonville Jaguars. On top of that, the Jaguars are expected to move down the field often, creating high upside for Lambo. The must-sits: Quinn Nordin, Cairo Santos, Mason Crosby, Daniel Carlson, and Chris Boswell. And a bust of the week, Jason Sanders. While Sanders excelled last year as the best kicker in fantasy football, his 2 games against the Patriots in 2020 were not so great. He only converted 1 field goal on 2 attempts, so I look elsewhere this week. Defense and special teams, the must-starts: the Ravens, Broncos, Giants, 49ers, and the Rams. And our sleeper of the week, the Carolina Panthers. Matt Rule has spent the last couple off seasons heavily improving the defense. This could be the year that it all comes together. While Zach Wilson has shown flashes of excellence, I'll take my chances with an improved defense against the rookie quarterback in his first NFL game. The must-sits: the Browns, Saints, Colts, Bills, and the Steelers. And our bust of the week, the Minnesota Vikings. I totally get it. The Bengals have no offensive line, and Joe Burrow has not looked great in camp, but they're still capable of being a high-scoring offense, and the Vikings defense the last couple years hasn't necessarily been a household name. Don't start the Vikings. That is your starts and sits for week 1 of the 2021 fantasy football season. I know that a lot of you guys, every week, you guys have your, I agree with this player, I disagree with this player. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and mention one of the comments right now. Lisa Kidd, who's been commenting recently on their YouTube channel, they say, pick up the Browns defense against Kansas City, talking about our ads and drops. So when I talk about the ads and drops, I'm not necessarily saying, yes, you have to pick them up and start them. If I said to start them or sit them, then they're going to be in the start and sit video. But if it's just to add or drop, this is necessarily for the outlook of your team, of your fantasy football roster. How's it going to look and favor you in weeks to come? Because for defenses especially, I like to pick up defenses a week in advance, knowing that, oh, okay, well, in week 2, they're going to face whoever it is, going to face the Detroit Lions, Houston Texans, like a bad offense. Then I can go ahead and put a waiver claim in now if I have an extra bench spot, get them, so I don't have to fight for anyone else by the time waivers roll around for week 2. And then kind of going off of what you just said, I have Jameis Winston as my backup. I talked about Jameis Winston being the must-sit here. Would you rather have him or Zach Wilson? Zach Wilson. It's Zach Wilson all the way. I love the potential. I love seeing him in the preseason and what kind of player he is and what kind of player he can develop into. So I'm excited about Zach Wilson. If he's your backup quarterback or if he's on the waivers, I mean, he's the ad of the week this week in our ads and drops video. So add him. Seriously, add him. But that was, like I said, that's your starts and sits for week 1. And since you don't have to go back into this video and sift through all like 30 minutes of this, I'm going to upload it, like I said, if you guys are just tuning in, as its own separate video later on this afternoon. So you can go back, watch it at your disposal. All right. I mean, that's pretty much it. Now what I'm going to do for the next few minutes is just answer some questions that you guys have been asking in this YouTube chat, because I want this to be a community that, we get to ask each other questions. You guys help each other out as well. So let's go ahead and answer a question by Mark Woodley. I got Gage, Callaway, and Chase. Should I trade any away for Marvin Jones? I mean, maybe. That's tough. I think they're all in the same tier. Maybe Chase is like a much better, and he could develop into a much better player. Early on, for you guys that own Jamar Chase, he's not going to be good. He's not going to be good. He's not going to be great first few weeks, maybe 7, 8 fantasy points, but then later on in the season, towards the fantasy playoffs, he's kind of like that Javonte Williams type of player where you want to go ahead and draft him so that by the time the last half of the season comes around, you have a good running back for the fantasy playoffs. Same thing with Jamar Chase. You want to make sure you draft him so you have a good, what could be a good wide receiver too for your fantasy football playoffs. But to answer your question, Gage, Callaway, and Chase, should I trade any for Marvin Jones? No. I had one league where Marvin Jones was a 15th round pick. So that kind of tells you the value of what people think of Marvin Jones. They also have Laviska Shenault and DJ Chark in there as well, mixing in, and I wouldn't do it personally. It's not worth it. You wouldn't really get too much value out of it. Let's see what else we got. Miguel, every day, super fan, saying hello. What's up, my man? For the great Chris Boswell, he's my bye week replacement for Butker. I'd have to look back and see who Butker or when his bye week is and see the matchup and if Chris Boswell is a good replacement. But it kind of goes back into the concept of when I was talking about Mason Crosby doing the ads and drops video. If you have a high scoring offense, that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to get the kicker for that. Should I call him out? I don't want to. All right, I'm going to call him out. Field Yates, I love Field Yates and what he does on ESPN. I watch his videos all the time. So, Field, if you're watching this, I doubt you are. I 100% doubt you are. I have nothing but love for you. But there was something that you said that I was like, I don't know if I agree with that. During your fantasy football, you're making a video giving fantasy football tips and advice, and you just said for kickers, save that for the last round and draft a kicker that is on a high-scoring team that can move down the field. That was your advice, and I'm not too. That's not true because, like I said, if Mason Crosby, if that's the case, Mason Crosby would be a top 5 kicker every year on that Packers offense. Same thing with Chris Boswell. The Steelers offense is pretty good. It's about having an above-average offense versus a defense that may not be like top 5, top 10, but is average as far as yards allowed, so that the kicker can get in a good spot and the offense can move down the field and a kicker can get field goal opportunities. That's what it is. We're trying to get field goal opportunities here. And that's why I feel like Josh Lambo could be in the same boat against the Houston Texans defense and get a lot of field goal opportunities. As far as Chris Boswell or Mason Crosby, the team might just score a lot. You get extra points, not as many points as field goals. So that's the strategy behind kickers. It varies every week depending on the defense and stuff that you play. But you have those solid kickers like Butker and Tucker that are for sure going to get field goal opportunities without question. What else do we got here? Some people are mentioning their teams and saying that, rate my team and all that stuff. I'll go ahead and say Jack Quaranto, 41. 12-man league, last pick. Ooh. Dak, Hill, Diggs, Debo, Swift, Edmonds, Fant, Galladay, Waddle, Zach Moss, Paris Campbell, Tyrell Williams. Not a bad team, really. Like, for wide receivers. Now, this is what I encourage you to do. Go out there and do a 2-for-1 package or maybe even trade one of your top receivers for a solid running back because running back depth is so important. Having the last pick is kind of tricky because you get caught in that spot where it's like, all right, well, I get to draft Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, because that's what the ADP is on ESPN, is like around 12. But you have to learn to, okay, maybe if I just overdraft a few spots for a running back 1, I think it'll work out in the end. So I encourage you to make those trades for those running backs. What do we got? We're going to take a couple more here. Roberto Soto, I got Lambo with my last draft pick based on matchup. Hey, kudos to you. Congratulations. You also said I would take Robinson even though I love Swift. I love Swift as well, but for you guys that are DeAndre Swift owners, if you don't have Jamal Williams on your team, it's going to be rough. I'm going to be honest with you. I was so big on him. If you watch that draft rankings video that I came out with back in July, I was so big on him. I had him as a running back 6 because the upside is there. He's so talented. And then throughout the whole month after that, It was just bad thing after bad thing. There was an injury, a groin injury. There was poor conditioning. Dan Campbell was concerned about the conditioning. So many things are going on with DeAndre Swift, and I have him as a must-sit this week against the 49ers. I think he can develop into a running back one eventually, but it's going to take some time. So hold on to Swift for now. Let me take one more. Derek you said, can you rate my team, please? Yeah, sure. Since you said please, why not? 10-team full PPR, QBs, Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, running backs, Kamara, Sanders, Hunt, Fournette, Latavius Murray. Your wide receivers are Hopkins, A.J. Brown, Russell Gage, Lazard, Chark, Waddle. Tight ends, Hooper. Defense, Browns. Kickers, Younghoe Koo. Solid team. I mean, you got Allen, Kamara. I mean, I would look for another running back too. I'm not too big on Miles Sanders this year. And if that, like I said, same strategy. If you need to trade a wide receiver, need to do a 2-for-1 package, maybe include Miles Sanders and DJ Chark for a running back like, a Gus Edwards or a Joe Mixon. If people would accept that, I would possibly do that and see if that'll work out. But yeah, running back depth is very, very important in fantasy football. Okay, so we have reached our 30-minute quota. We're going to go ahead and cut it off right here. We appreciate you guys tuning in, even though we had a little bit of a technical difficulty and we didn't really start until later on. But I appreciate you guys for tuning in, like I said. But like I said, adds and drops video, it's going to be its own video later on this afternoon. And same thing with the starts and sits as well. Its own video that's going to be coming out. Make sure you guys subscribe to this channel so you can stay up to date for when we come out with more fantasy football videos every single week. Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 10:30 Eastern Standard Time is when we do this show. Thank you guys for tuning in. And remember, I don't know.